And I realized that I have accumulated so many skills that, you know, I didn't even know, didn't give a second thought to it. However, now from there, what we had to do was to figure out which one makes our heart happy. Not our mind, but our heart. Because when you get into a niche, you have to love what you're doing.
Today, I get to speak with Munira Zahabi. She's an international podcaster, speaker, entrepreneur, and the Niche Navigator. Now, she wrote the book, The Philosophy of Niche Principles, when she struggled around picking a niche for herself, which also made her really happy. Now, the concept resonated so much with folks that her book became one of the best selling books. Munira Zahabi's transformational talks and sessions have made her one of the elite coaches in the foundation of personal development. Now, she's got a master's degree in healthcare management and is a John Maxwell Certified Coach. She's also an alumni of the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, a joint venture between Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. As an inspirational niche consultant, Munira has over 20 years of experience in empowering individuals and achieving new heights of authentic success. So let's listen into this conversation. Munira, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Junaid. It's really a pleasure.
Absolutely. So you are the Niche Navigator. I think I've seen you talk on Facebook Live or Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live with one of my friends or connections on there, but it was a while back. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, how do we navigate the niche? I mean, that's an awesome title.
Thank you. So I help businesspreneurs find and niche down. The reason is that people get into business and they are in love with the idea of just being in business. So they start without thinking. And then they realize that, oh, this is not very easy. So I help them lay the foundation. Most business coaches will help you scale the business and take it to a different level. But I help you lay the foundation, because why is it that you want to do what you want to do? And why this business? And how can you take it from here to where you want to go?
Right, so help them set the foundation perfectly so they can grow based on that foundation. Because I think a lot of questions that I've seen entrepreneurs ask that are just getting in or growing is they're trying to figure out their why. They're like, hey, I love to do all of this stuff, but how? Like, what is my why? So I'm guessing that you're helping them figure out their whys.
Yes. So their why first, and then the how second. Because it's like going on a trip, right? We want to go on a trip. It's like, why do you want to go there? And then how will you get there? So do you have enough money, or can you, business is not easy because there's so many moving parts to it. So my thinking is, let's get you figure out. Because people, and I'll tell you why I get into business. I know this is your next question, so I'll just get it. Over the years, I've been approached with different business ideas. And I have blindly thought of, oh, this is a good thing. Let's just go and jump into it. Now, either some of them sounds very good and we buy into it only to realize that those things that we saw, the shiny object syndrome, were not really shiny, because those people that they showcased in front of the room were people who had already capitalized on the beginning wave. So now it's getting difficult for us to find people to join the business. And I'm not saying no to MLM businesses or businesses like that, but the idea of getting into a business is very, very enticing.
Yes.
And so when we we try to jump into it, we don't think behind the scenes. We don't sit down and interview people as to how long did it take you, what did you do, how did you scale your business. And even if we try, there's some people who will tell you, join the business, we'll teach you everything else. Those businesses that you join are not for you, partly because you haven't done your research. So I help people figure out their way.
That's so powerful because yes, the shiny object syndrome, that you can get this nice car, you can sell all these houses, you can have this kind of income on a monthly basis, blah blah blah. Yes, that is all awesome, but nobody talks about the number of hours that you need to put in, the homework, right? All of that hard work that you need to put in. And if you think about it, right, when we were growing up, we went to college, we went to school to learn the trade craft that we've learned over years. I mean, how many hours did we spend into crafting or getting good at that craft to before we could say, okay, now I'm a website designer, or I'm a CPA, or I'm an accountant, right? You put in so many hours. So businesses are exactly the same thing. You have to learn the foundation. You have to learn all of those things. And I love the fact that you're also teaching. First, you're helping them navigate. Then you're also teaching them how they can accomplish the what they figured out, right? And on the podcast, I'm a huge proponent around how to, figure that out, how to as well. I'm learning, like, for example, you're going to teach us, how do you navigate that niche? What inspired you to become the niche navigator? So I like to focus on those backstories, those foundational history, because when people listen to the episode, they're like, okay, if I want to get to where this guy is at, I need to follow these steps. Because a lot of the times we will say, okay, I know how this is done, I'm going to do it my way. But that's the thing, right? If you were able to do it my way, you would have already done it. And that's why we go and find coaches and teachers to help us figure out what's not working.
So I write the principles of my navigating my niche in my book. It's called Philosophy of Niche Principles.
Nice.
And so there are 5 principles that I talk about. I mean, there's many more, but these are the 5 that allowed me to think through those lines and figure out what it is that I wanted. But the one thing that I notice is as I go into coaching and I started looking at different coaches and I wanted to do my own thing, I realized that not everybody, even though they had certifications, people who were coaches, they didn't have the why down. And they thought, I've gone through KBB, which is Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. I've gone through John Maxwell. I've seen and worked with several different other coaches for a limited time. And what I realized is they give you the information, but they don't expect you, they don't teach you how to implement it. That's what's missing.
Right.
And, not everybody can be a speaker. Not everybody who is in a dental field can do what the guy from business world has done. And what I also noticed, because what I started doing was started to study some people. Now, some people had awesome luck, and I call it luck, because with schools, right? And that's a good business too. But you have to keep knocking on the door, or you have to have somebody inside that's going to open that door for you. Even in business. So I used to be in corporate world, and once I left corporate world, nobody wanted to talk to me. Even though I had relationships that allowed me to build bridges, they didn't want to open the door for me. So in searching for my niche, I realized that there were people who didn't know what they were doing either. They were just putting up a facade. And so that became my quest. For a year, I started talking to people, and that was what my show, Munira's Musings, my podcast, came to play. Because what I started doing was I wanted to know what their secret was. What I found out is they didn't have a secret. so I realized that, hey, if I can help you, and what happened was after the conversations that we've had on the podcast, we would have a sidebar conversation without the recording. And in those, I realized that if I could help them, they would be so amazing at it. Yeah. So one story I found was a lady who had just purchased her grandmother's house in Italy. Mm-hmm. And she had just been laid off from her job here, and she wanted to go and teach leadership skills to that office. And they wouldn't give her the time of day. She was a fired employee, right? A laid off employee. So she said, I have to keep going back to Italy to figure out my mother's, my grandmother's home. And I have repairs to do, and I have purchased it. So I was like, you know what? You live in Italy, you know the place, you know the language, you know the culture. How many people would kill to go there? So I said, let's take what you have, repurpose it. So her grandmother's house sleeps 12 people, and I told her, find 12 people that you can take to Italy and show them Italy the way they're supposed to see it. And that became an experience. So she did in 2019. She started this in working on the plan in 2018. Yeah. And what she did was she repurposed the whole thing, got the house ready, and she took 12 ladies, single ladies, on a trip. 12 ladies. And she said, I can find a small bus. I know the people. I know the food. I know the culture. And she did a whole tour of the vineyards in Italy. It was an amazing trip. And she did 7 to 9 trips in 2019. She was awesome. What happened was she started doing that in 2020 when COVID hit. So she's not very happy, but she's taking that experience in a different angle.
Give me one quick second. Hold on. I've got a knocking baby.
Okay. Be careful. They'll grow up very fast.
I know. I spend a lot of time with them, and I just need to get some things done, and then like after 5 o'clock, I'm with the kids, till they go to sleep. So I spend a ton of time with them, and been working from home. So that's gets them daddy's time also. All right. So back to the story where this lady started.
Shall I start again?
No, you're fine. They started doing the tour, and then she also took a group during COVID to Italy.
No, she didn't take a group to COVID. Her business is at a standstill right now because Italy was one of those countries that had died. So no, she didn't take it. But she's doing something else. So we had to repurpose her again to figure out what she's now doing is she's preparing people and showing them different things that they could do in Italy and things that you don't get in a regular catalog. So it's just how you have to pivot, right?
That's so beautifully put. So, wow. So you went through the journey yourself. You figured out, hey, this is really interesting. Let me help others figure out their niche. And then you went through that transformation yourself. You wrote a book.
I did. Right? I did. So in helping other people finding their niche, I became the Niche Navigator.
That's so beautiful and powerful because it's it's so funny because all the stories that you hear, all the origin stories that you hear of from others like Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Pat Flynn, and all these people, right? So they went through that transformation themselves. They start helping others, and now that's what they're known as.
Yes.
So amazing. And it's something similar to what I did too. This during COVID, sure, I had a full-time job and everything, right? But when COVID hit, before COVID hit, I started working from home. I had gotten a new job, and then I was working from home. And since we had just gotten some work done at the house, mostly for installation, we replaced windows in the basement, and I was like, I need to rearrange my office so it's more comfortable to work in. And as I was setting up my office, I was like, well, I also want to set it up as a studio, so then I can go live, I can record content, I can, share videos, because 2 years ago, I've had this office for multiple years, but I went through the transformation. I figured out all of these things, like having multiple camera angles and, having all of that stuff. So now somebody said, hey, you should be teaching others how to set up their studios.
Awesome.
And I was like, I didn't think of it that way, because I was trying to still stuck on the fact, I want to offer people how to build their websites, how to have their personal brand online. But anytime I talk about it, I wasn't as passionate about it as I was when I talked about my video. And, so like, oh, this is what I should be doing. And, it was pretty cool. Like, I figured it's like when you solve your own problem, you start finding people that also need that one problem solved.
True.
And that
when I was looking for my niche and I started looking at a coach, one of the coaches that I worked with told me, I want you to go write on a piece of paper, put it on a wall, and write down everything that you know how to do. It's a skill that you know how to do. Doesn't matter what. If you know how to brush your teeth, brush your teeth. Put it on there. If you want to know how to comb your hair, put it on there. If you know how to peel an onion, put it on there. And I was like, what does that even mean, right? And it's amazing that you know so much, especially at the age when you are over 35. You accumulated so many skills, not only within the household realm, but also in the business world, that you don't know how many little things can help other people. I was like, I know how to bandage a wound. Put it up there, And so by the time I finished a month later, I had a 17-page document.
Wow.
Where so many skills, because I had no space. And then what I did was got smarter, put everything on Excel, and that's a skill I had was, let's put it on Excel so I'm not spending so much paper. And I then worked on it to see which ones were doubles. I had 4 that were doubles. And I realized that I have accumulated so many skills that, I didn't give a second thought to it. However, now from there, what we had to do was to figure out which one makes our heart happy. Not our mind, but our heart. Because when you get into a team, you have to love what you're doing. Absolutely. And if you can't do something for more than 3 hours, then you don't love it.
That's so true. If you can't do something for more than 3 hours, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel like work. Like a lot of people say, your work shouldn't be happy because then you're just having fun. I'm like, that's the idea.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It's the idea.
You can enjoy it and not feel pressured in doing something you don't want to do.
And most people, are anxious. There's so many people out there in the world that want to change their life. Forbes had this report out in about late 90s, where they said that there were people out there, 68% of the people out there were not happy with what they were doing. Well, sometimes it's just a means to an end, and people don't know how to change it. But here's the thing. James Allen wrote it very beautifully in his book, As the Man Thinketh. He says, most people are anxious to improve their circumstances. They are not anxious to improve themselves. So if you start doing that with yourself, you'll figure out what you are meant to do. Because that's what's missing.
I love it. This is so cool. I mean, went into the journey of why and how you became the Niche Navigator and how you've helped others figure out their niches and essentially scale. Because once you figure out what you're really good at, you can go to town and be really successful. All right. So I want to ask, so based on your book, tell us the 5 principles, if you don't mind sharing with our audience. What are these 5 principles that they need to focus on in order to figure out their niche or navigate the niche? Like, what are those 5 points that you mentioned earlier, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I don't mind sharing, so I can talk about them a little bit. The first one is networking. So networking is, sometimes you have a skill and you don't even give it a second thought. But when you are networking and you listen to people, so it all comes into communication as well, because listen to people, and if you are tuned into the right frequency, you'll hear what their problem is. And if you solve that problem, you have a niche. Because you know how to fix it. Like you said, people want to know how to set up their office. I want to say a different angle too, now that I'm anxious about what I've seen with you do, and I want to see it. But I don't have 2 cameras, so how do I do it, right?
Absolutely.
So you have a challenge or something. The second step is initiate to implement. Initiation. It's like most people just sit there simmering in an idea. And you sit there, and it's like gravy that gets thicker and thicker, but you don't do anything about it. Well, initiate. You've got this idea, figure out a plan. The third step is care to prepare. It's because most people, okay, I have a plan. Let's take you, for example. I'm going to fix my office, and I need a studio. So let's plan this. What do I need? So you had a list that you needed and things that you ordered from either Amazon or went to Best Buy to get. So you planned it out because you wanted to start something, you wanted to plan something. The fourth one is humility and honesty are king. The thing is, we learn from our mistakes. And if we don't laugh at our mistakes, nobody else will. Right? You and I have done enough blunders in America to figure things out, right? and we have to laugh about it, because if somebody else laughs at us, it's gonna hurt us. We might as well just laugh at ourselves. And if you tell people that you have learned from your mistakes, people will know that you are human, and they will acknowledge you just for that. So just be human and say, you know what, I tried this, it didn't work, so I tried it a different way. It didn't work, so I tried it a third way. I mean, Thomas Edison had 1,000 tries, but he never said it was a failure. He just said the electric bulb is a success story. It only took 1,000 steps, right? And sometimes I wonder how I would have felt if I had met him in person, because he must have such a wonderful personality to say it.
Absolutely.
And then the fourth,
rejection.
Yeah, and most of the time we fear that, and we fear failure, and we don't want to do anything because of what other people will think.
Oh,
What about you? What about what you think? You got to believe. You got to believe. You got to figure this out yourself.
yeah.
And I'm not saying anything is easy. To get to where we are today, and anybody who wants to follow, it's not easy. Even Tony Robbins says that. It's not easy, but you keep at it every single day. Right?
Yep.
And the fifth step is execute to win. Because you could have an initiation plan and you can have a plan of plans and there would be a plan to plan to plan. But if you do not take the first step and execute, you will never do anything.
Yeah, take action.
Right. Take action. Initiate to implement to execute.
I love it.
I tell people to take action, and most people, when I go talk to a large group or anything, they want to learn how to initiate and execute. And the one thing I tell them to do you want to take the action? And they're all, yes, I want to. I said, this is what I do. My coach says, stand under a cold shower for 10 minutes until you are comfortable. The first time I did that, I shrieked. It's a good thing my kids weren't here, otherwise, ooh. But you've got to acknowledge the fact that you have to stand under the shower. And this was an assignment. And now it has become something that you do every day. Tony Robbins swims in a pool, which is, I think, 45 to 50 degrees.
He jumps in those pools.
Yeah, and why? Because it helps him. It's something that he has to do. Because we get complacent in life. We all do. And that's the problem, is that you are not meant to be complacent. You are meant to do something. You are meant to take action. So do it. You could say, I remember reading a story when I was a little kid. It's like 3 tortoises went to a bar to drink, and it started raining heavily. So one of the tortoises told the young fellow that you need to go get the umbrella. And, after a long time, they waited for this kid, and then they said, the rain isn't going to stop, so we're going to have to go. And this kid, I wonder why he never came back. And so the little tortoise says, I didn't want to go because it was raining. So he was still there. He didn't go out there to get the umbrella. But the thing, the whole story, tortoises don't go to the bar. It's a fable. But what it taught me was you have to take action. You have to take the step. Don't care how difficult it is. I know for a fact that when you started your podcast, you were not as good. You must have made so many edits. I did the same thing. Even now, when I have to do a Facebook Live, sometimes I delete, and then start again. And it happens because we're human. We are prone to make mistakes, but accept your mistakes. But take action. I'm going to ask everybody on your podcast to take a cold shower. I live in Chicago. It's cold here all the time. So go jump in a cold shower.
The cold shower, as you're talking, it reminded me that as soon as you take a cold shower, you're doing something uncomfortable. Now, anything else that you do is not going to feel as bad.
No.
Because you've already done the most uncomfortable thing a human being can do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just take the cold shower. You don't have to go into the pool. Just stand in front. Right. You're not Tony Robbins. You don't have a pool. Right. But do it, yeah? Because it helps you take the next step.
That's so powerful. I actually tried today. I was like, all right, let me take a shower. And then I slowly turned the dial to cold, cold, cold. And I was like, okay, this is the maximum cold I can take. And then I stepped out after like a minute. I was like, okay, this is good enough. So tomorrow I'll try to do more colder and see.
No. That's cheating. Just start with cold water and step in it. That's it. Okay. Yay, there you go. And then you can jump out within 2 seconds, but the challenge is to stand under the cold shower till you get comfortable. Now, does that happen in 10 minutes for you? Because it all depends on people's different body temperatures.
Right.
For me, it took 7 minutes, right? I was like, oh God. And you see, here's the thing. When I first did it, I was like, there's nobody here. And so I don't have to really stand under the shower. But you're cheating the system. You're cheating yourself. So if you stand under the cold shower and you appreciate what's coming to you, cold water, there's a lot of studies out there. Cold water also helps your body to jumpstart, your brain to jumpstart.
Yeah.
So to take it as a health benefit.
No, absolutely. I will take the challenge tomorrow morning.
Okay, I want to know what happened.
I will message you.
All right.
This was awesome. Well, Munira, thank you so much. This was so much fun talking with you, learning about your journey, how you became the Niche Navigator. You shared with our audience some really solid points on how somebody can take an action and step into the light and figure out their niche. I love the idea about making a list of all the things that you know. Pat Flynn wears this T-shirt all the time that says "Teach everything you know."
Yes.
So, he backs this company called ConvertKit. So I was part of ConvertKit, and then all of a sudden I had all these subscribers count went up. So they sent me a link like, "Hey, or you can go buy this T-shirt." And I was like, "Oh, this is where he got it." So I finally got the T-shirt. So I walk around with it. And then it says "Teach everything you know," and people say, "I'm like, oh, so you're teaching everything you know?" I'm like, yes, absolutely, because the more we teach, the more we reinvigorate the idea and the knowledge in our brains and get better at it. So teaching is such a beautiful thing to do because you just jog your memory, jog everything. So thank you so much for that idea of listing down all the things that we know and then calibrating, okay, what of those 17 pages of lists is going to make me really, really happy that I can do all day long. And so that's powerful. And I think one of the things that I love to do is having these interviews with my guests, with amazing folks like yourself, because I get to connect with you on a totally different level, on a much deeper level. It's a conversation that we're having heart to heart. And when we eventually, like when we start, we are, we're getting to know each other, but towards the end of the conversation, our minds are in sync. Like you're finishing my sentence and I'm finishing your sentence. It's a beautiful thing. And it's just amazing. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Let's come to the conversation. It's a fun part. Have some, I asked a few of the questions for my guests at this point, which ties in back to the hobbies part of it, right? What are the hobbies that really invigorate us? So what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Ooh, playing the piano.
Oh.
That's something that I've always wanted to learn, but I don't have long fingers. So I cannot reach the keys. And that's the only thing that's hindering my progress there. But that also stopped me from playing the piano because reading music, right? So I know they have now electrical, keyboards or whatever, but I would rather play the grand piano. That's something that I've always wanted to do. So that's hindering me.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Next question. What did you want to be when you were a child?
Ooh. I wanted to be a radiologist.
Ooh.
Because when I learned the waves and I saw the waves, I just thought that was the most amazing thing. I still do.
It is. And what's beautiful about radiology and sound and life in general, like everything is a cycle. Our heartbeat, our eyes blinking, our breathing, the sound, the waves of the sound, the wave of the light, everything is a wave. It's so beautiful. Like everything is literally a frequency.
True.
It is like looking at the computer monitor, there's frequency, all these colors. It's just so beautiful. Like that's how God made everything.
That reminds me, I didn't become a radiologist, but what I have done in my life is been in healthcare so much and become a caretaker for my husband's.
Yeah.
I say husband because I buried one and then I married again and I buried him again. And so, but I now understand that those waves that intrigued me so much are also a lifeline.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite movie is Troy and Gladiator. They come in at the same time.
They came around the same time and they were really nicely done.
They're very epic and I love history.
Yes.
So the way they brought it to life is just amazing.
Yeah, they did a really, really amazing job. Thank you for reminding me. I gotta go. I mean, Gladiator was one of my favorites, or is one of my favorites. I mean, just his story, right? You see him be the general of an army, and all of a sudden he is in shackles and being traded as a slave. It's just beautiful to follow somebody's journey and then see them rise back up in the ranks.
But see, that's also our journey, because I was something else in Kenya. I'm from Kenya, so something else in Kenya, something else in Tanzania, and you come here and you have to restart. But what did he do? He repurposed all his skills and found a niche to be the gladiator.
Oh
see,
my God.
perfect movie.
You're absolutely right. He definitely did all of that. Oh my God. Thank you for that. Thank you for that connection between this and that. Wow. I love it.
I'm the Niche Navigator. I find niches in everything.
This is awesome. All right. You're going to love this question. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Ooh. I don't watch movies. I do not. But if I was to play, what was that movie? Oh my God. This is going to take some time. I don't watch movies. What was that movie about?
Which one?
The blonde, the lady who was a lawyer. What's her name?
Legally Blonde?
Wait. I have to figure this out.
Christina Applegate? No, was it?
No.
Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, Reese Witherspoon. That's a movie about her being a blonde, this thing, a lawyer, right? A woman lawyer.
Blonde. She goes to school and she's wearing pink and everything, and everybody's like, "Why are you dressed up like this? This is the law school."
Legally Blonde. It was a blonde movie. Oh my God. You have to edit a lot of this. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. This is the experience that podcast provides. It is a very earlier this week or last week actually, I was talking to one of my podcaster friends, and she's a voiceover artist. And think about a podcast. It's a very personal conversation that somebody's hearing in their earphones, right? So if you edit a lot of stuff, a lot of these conversations are like this blanks and ums and ahs, it doesn't feel very personal. But when you leave all of that in, you pique their anticipation, like, oh, what's Munira gonna say?
Yeah.
Very cool.
See, and she took her beauty niche.
She did.
And used it, right? So that's what I say is people have so many skills that they don't put into action to do something else.
I love it. This is very beautiful. I'm gonna have to find the link for your book, because that's something that needs to go on the list.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. All right. Next question.
Yes.
Who is your favorite superhero?
Superhero? Superman.
Superman, yes.
Yeah, Superman.
Last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh, if I was a board game, what's the new one that came out? Oh my God. I play this with my kids all the time.
Mm-hmm. Is it the one where you have different pieces where you go around the board and you have to buy property?
Oh, this is with card games. Hang on.
Card game, okay.
No, it's a board game with card game.
Okay.
Oh. It's not strategy. It starts with a S. Oh my God. This is so funny. Okay, I just say Scrabble.
Scrabble. Okay.
That's my second favorite. It helps me relax.
So you would be Scrabble where you would help people figure out their niche. And that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Because you are turning words around on their heads and pivoting to figure out what they're really good at.
Yes.
I like
Okay.
it.
That's the other one that I wanted to say, but I'll find out and tell you which one it is.
Awesome, cool. All right. This was a ton of fun. Thank you so much, Munira. You've helped me realize a lot of things and connected the dots. I mean, I'm always looking to connect the dots. I have a ton of hobbies. I bring ideas from different hobbies into one another, and it helps me grow my mind. So thank you so much for all of the information, all of the wisdom that you've collected over the years. Thanks for sharing. Where can my audience find you?
They can find me at the nichenavigator.com.
All right, perfect.
And can I give them something?
Absolutely. Yes.
So if you go to the nichenavigator.com, the second tab is ebook. I have a book there. You can download for free. It's called One Niche, Two Niches. And it's something that I'm very proud of because that's the first thing that I wrote before I wrote my book.
Okay.
And it's amazing because I think it's beautifully written in a poetic form. So
Awesome.
helps you think about your niches.
One niche, two niche. So guys, we'll have the link to the ebook in the show notes that you can go and download from Munira Zahabi's the nichenavigator.com website. Thank you so much for your time and all of your fantastic stories. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.